if they do pick up, the number one thing I want to confirm is, right?
And look, this isn't entirely the rep's fault because of where this idea comes from. This is the thing that almost all reps who make cold calls of any kind are missing. All right, welcome back. Another edition of Outbound Fluff No Sales. We're going to talk about one of the key things where outbound can go wrong, which is who's actually making the call, what's happening on that call, follow up. This one is going to be really great if you're a rep, cold caller of any kind. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, like, and drop a comment below if you love or hate the episode. I'm Ronen. This is Ryan. Let's get it, Ryan.
Let's force those meetings.
If you got them on the phone, you can get them again.
Well, this is coming up a lot. Yeah, this is coming up a lot in a couple different ways. Because actually, there's a post that came out this week that I pushed. It. By the way, it's not me writing this stuff these days, which is so funny. I love to see the reach. It's Derry pushing this out from the. It's basically just like lessons out of the community, and he's pushing them as a LinkedIn post, right? So, and then there's another coaching topic on the same exact concept. But the thing that actually got a decent, like 40,000 impressions right now and growing is just simply opening the call and the differences between hey, this is Ryan versus hey, this is Ryan Reisert. And the professionalism that comes from that and like how it sets the tone for the call, but also how it's answering specific questions. So there's one part around just that. And then the other piece is the mindset going into the conversation. So I think we can unpack both of these right now. And it goes all the way back to what we've already shared before with the framework. What are we trying to accomplish when we make a call? So most people are calling and their outcome is meetings, 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 meetings. But the reality is like when you call, this is from fanatical prospecting, Jeb Blunt. There's really four reasons to use the phone. Number one is to gather information. Number two is to build awareness. Number three is to settle a meeting when appropriate. And number four is to move a deal forward. All of these things are what we're setting up and trying to get people to use the phone. What people hyper focus on is using sales development to do only one thing, which is set meetings. And then they forget about gathering information, building awareness. And then of course, they forget about using it to move deals forward, which is a whole nother topic. Like we pull our hair out on that one. But let's talk about the framework and why it's so powerful, because when we call, like we can have success no matter what every single time and get away from this negative feeling or this pressure of, oh my God, I'm not doing a good job. If we think about every single time we click dial, we can do the first outcome. We can gather information. Buckets is all about this, right? I can get information on, is this number even worth calling or not, by running the validation process. And I can listen through to a voicemail and figure out, is this even the right person in the first place? Or have they validated their name in this? And is it worth calling again or not? Can I get to them? Can I get to them or working voicemail? If not, I probably shouldn't call it. But if they do pick up, the number one thing I want to confirm is it them, right? And so as I run the messaging framework, do I have the right person by name? Ultimately, I want to get to, do I have the right person by name and title? Do they actually do the thing that I believe I'm calling them about? Are they in the role or function of what I believe that? So this is all information I could be capturing just by using the framework. And if I get cut off at any point in that conversation, that's okay, because once we know they pick up again and again and again. So I get them in the follow-up. But what we find over and over and over again is because everyone focuses on just setting meetings, they get stuck in this way. Like success and failure is, did they book a meeting or not? Even when they're getting in situations like the one we had today, the lady says, I'm running into surgery. I'm running into surgery. And then I like, instead of being like, oh my goodness, worst possible time, I'll try you back. It's like, let me just kept going. And she's like, I'm literally going into surgery. Yeah, well, that's actually why I was calling. Can we get some time on the calendar for, like, he was literally trying to book for next week when she's like, I'm literally 2 seconds away from me needing to be in surgery.
And look, this isn't entirely the rep's fault because of where this idea comes from. Like, this is the thing that almost all reps who make cold calls, do cold outbound of any kind, are missing. We're so fixated on setting up a meeting because a meeting is oftentimes what these people are getting paid on. So it's already getting tied to money, which is incentive. Follow the money trail, you'll find the incentive. But even forget that for a minute. If you take it back a step, the reason why that is even a goal is because it's the best proxy, meaning it's the best alternative to what these companies really want. These companies really want revenue, qualified opportunities that their sales reps can have. And so many go-to-market leaders, revenue leaders, founders who are putting these plans in place for their cold callers are only thinking about, well, how do I get that? I know how I get that when I have demos or first meetings. But there's a massive chunk of stuff that gets missed. And this is the thing that if you don't quite pick this up, you're going to miss real opportunities in the pipeline. You're going to miss important data that you can use to improve your efficiency and your outcomes to get to the outcomes faster. And you're ultimately going to create a worse buying experience for your prospects. Like this example where the person who was reached was clearly not able to have a conversation right then and there. But what I actually did like about what this rep did is he did confirm the title. And
Yeah,
that's
he
probably
did.
where he should have stopped,
That's
right?
exactly where he should have
Confirmed
stopped.
the
Yeah.
title. She repeated herself. I'm actually about to go into surgery in a moment. And also in hindsight, it sounded like she might have been the surgeon or someone
No,
involved
no,
in the
she's
operation.
the medical sales rep. So that's why it made sense. Um,
Right.
but
But
here,
in,
let me
but
let me just correct one thing that
that's the
you're
like
mentioning. Let me correct one thing though. We are saying the reason why they focus on meetings because it's the best proxy. No, they think it's the best proxy.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But it's not. They think it is, but it's not.
Right.
So they just want to be very clear as you
Yeah,
get
they
into.
think it's the best proxy. So, and I get that line of thinking, right? I used to have that line of thinking too. Well, what do you mean? There's no better alternative if I can't have a confirmed meeting on the schedule. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Rewind 15, 20 years. What did sales look like? There weren't Zoom meetings on the calendar. There weren't meetings on the calendar. It wasn't a thing at
Well,
all.
there was a push to
It
try to
was
get in person meetings with people,
in
which is
person,
a
and you're not about to go send someone out on an expensive flight, spend all this time to go in person for one meeting if it's not already qualified,
if it's not the right person at
the
the right
right
account with a
person.
problem that should yeah, again. So how did you get to that information via the phone?
So when
You
you
had
take
conversations.
this, you take this framework and mindset of what did sales used to look like, maybe there wasn't anything wrong with that process. You then look at what our modern technology has done, which has made it really easy to have a virtual meeting with somebody. And that became the de facto thing, but we quickly forgot as a industry and profession in outbound B2B sales, we quickly forgot what the fundamentals were. The fundamentals shouldn't change. That's what a fundamental is. It's a basic truth that you build on to grow and move forward. And if you want to grow your revenues and move forward, the people you talk to, when you spend more and more time with them, it should only be because they're a good fit as a client, potential customer, not because they just agree to spend time with you.
Correct.
And the
And
best way to do this,
that's the problem with the meeting. Well, there's a lot of
exactly.
problems with the meeting, the virtual meeting, the demo, but it could even be an on-site meeting that there's a problem with this. We have gotten to an age where, again, whatever you put incentive on, there's going to be a problem. You have to have very clear definitions and try to get it to an objective outcome that everyone can agree to that makes sense for the organization. A meeting, a SAT meeting, and then they get into SAT held qualified meeting, and they get all this shit that becomes this debatable shit. And at the end of the day, what are you trying to solve for? You want to make sure that your organization, your sales organization, is spending time with the right resources in front of the right potential future customers at the right time, right? You want to put the best person in your sales organization with your best prospective customers in that conversation at the right time. That's what you really want to solve for. But what they're doing by proxying on meetings is like if you really put yourself in the prospect's shoes, they're not solving for that. Why would you send an outbound rep who's not like they don't do anything besides set appointments for your organization? You're going to put them on your best accounts and the best targets within those accounts with their only outcome that they can get is to get a meeting with somebody else at your company.
Yeah.
Again, put yourself in the shoes of the person receiving that call. It's never going to be very as effective as if the actual expert at your organization was the one making that call. Like we can agree to that. And then you're going to argue with me to say, well, they can't spend their time just calling everybody because most people don't pick up, blah, blah, blah. Exactly. That's why you use buckets because you have a system and a process that identifies where somebody's at in the journey. Do they pick up? Are they receptive? And if all you received was that the person at this company, like let's use this example we had right now. In my world right now, if I was really running the sales organizations for these companies, as soon as I got name and title confirmation from my list, I wouldn't have a BDR make any fucking callbacks. The salesperson would be making all of those callbacks. Those are priority leads because I now know that that is the person at the company who picks up the phone. I want my sellers making those calls. I don't want sales development making those calls
Well,
because
I'll push back on that for a second because I get what you're saying. However, if you can have the SDR take the next step, which is what we're doing today with our clients, where they're not just doing a title confirmation, you're handing it off not to a sales rep, but rather doing title confirmation and status confirmation. Where are you right now in your
Yeah, but
buying
I don't give a
cycle
shit.
when you hear this
I
pitch?
personally, I don't personally give a shit though. This is what I'm saying. In an ideal world, the prospect that's getting the next call from my organization, once I've confirmed it is them that picks up, regardless of what they say in terms of time, I don't care. I want my professional seller to make that call because
Mm,
they can ask the deeper questions. They can get better
right.
timing. They can dive deeper into pains. They could do unscheduled
It's a good
introductory
point.
calls right now. It doesn't need to be an activation. It's somebody who picks up the phone at a company that I want to be selling to. They can start to build that relationship. As soon as I get a signal that I have the right person, that's how I would run my organization. I would not be doing the stuff that we do for our clients. I would not be doing it. It's not a good experience for the customer. The prospect does not want to be called, to be qualified, to be warmed up.
Right.
They don't want that.
Right.
They
Yeah, so
want
you're advocating for full cycle sales, like,
always,
don't even have the split between setter and closer,
I've
SDR
always,
and AE,
always advocated
put
for
them
this.
together into one, and then the person making the calls is really just doing market
Conversational
validation.
advertising.
Mm,
It's always been this
yeah,
way.
and they're
They are
validating your data,
creating
right?
MQL pluses. They're using the phone to figure out, does the channel reach them, and is there any level? It doesn't really matter. Again, think of it from an advertising perspective. The SDR, the way that we develop this, the outbound rep, is a conversational advertising unit, and they're collecting information. They're building awareness, right? And they can set meetings if they get the right person. They can do that. That's the power of it. But I don't give a shit about it because all they're doing is validating that it is the right person at the right channel. So think of it like an ad unit, right? I create an audience in LinkedIn and I want to send this ad to CEOs at some sort of company or CISOs at some sort of company, right? The impression's going to go out. Then there's going to be clicks. Then there's going to be click throughs and like web form, blah, 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 right? You get like the marketing funnel, right? For phone, it's like dial, connect, connect, conversation, completion or not. And it doesn't really matter because if I was an advertiser and I was able to use technology, which they do these days, where I get the CFO or CEO or CISO into my funnel and I'm able to identify that, yeah, that is that person. I don't care if they
Mm.
filled out the form. I'm going to put my best person on calling them back. And I would say, hey, that's like an MQL, right? Say, hey, we got contact information for this person who visited our site and was looking at our pricing page. I don't care if they said, I don't care if they said, call me right now. I'm going to have my reps call them.
Well, I think the key is that the rep has to also understand, and this is hard to come by, that when they do reach that person, most of the people they're going to reach are going to be put into like an education bucket where they're not ready now. And the point of that conversation, when they do finally reach the right person, is most likely going to be, let me start to try to learn something about them, educate them a little bit about the market or what we're doing, and continue to follow up so that when eventually timing does become right, I can be the first one there. They're already thinking about me and it's somewhat warmer of a relationship as opposed to you're just setting a SDR on them who's trained to set meetings, never learn anything, never actually educate the prospect either. And I think that's one of the keys. Like if you put your best sales rep on it, they're naturally going to have the conversation and there's naturally going to be when the timing isn't right, but it's still the right target, right account. You're going to have that interaction where the sales rep is going to go into like educating teaching mode and something
Well,
there has a potential to stick.
they're also going to go into, wow, now that I know that I can get that person that I want to do business with into a conversation anytime I want on demand, well, now I'm going to spend some time actually doing the stuff that feels fluffy for most people thinking about outbound, like researching the account. Where the hell are they at? Like looking at news and events and monitoring it and looking up, like creating signals for that company so that it's like, oh, well, I just spoke with them. Now I can go in and look at things like if it's a public company, they're invested their 10Ks and all this other stuff, right? I can look at Google News and reports and job changes and start to actually like get the signals and be like, hey, as soon as I see anything, I'm back on it. I'm back on it. I'm back on it. That's what proper sales is, dude. Like that's at least the way I've done it historically. Like it blows my mind that like these reps just sit back, they wait for whatever comes on their calendar. They then show up to these meetings. They vomit some sort of presentation, and if they're not ready to move forward, they don't follow up at all, and it just either they win the small percentage that are ready to buy now, and they do nothing else.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, y'all heard it here first. I'm Ronen Pessar. This is Ryan Reisert. We're the Outbound operators. And if you haven't checked out Call Blitz yet, you're missing out. Check out the community. It's phenomenal. Peace.